Bobby, you play the drum? All bicycles. Like the whole kids one. Oh, Hari Babu. Jai Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. A beautiful rainy morning at New Govardhana. A special rain at New Govardhana. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Thank you. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaradha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govardhana Ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Tahan haite ghare asi mati rahu pare vasi nake kare priti vilikhan. Asi mati rahu pare vasi nake kare priti vilikhan. Tahan haite ghare asi mati rahu pare vasi nake kare priti vilikhan. Tahan hoite gare asi matira upare vasi nake kare prithvi likhan. Ha ha kahan vrindavana kahan gopendranandana kahan sevam shivadan. Ha kahan vrindavana kahan gopendranandana Kahan sevam shivadhan. Ha kahan vrindavana, kahan gopendranandan, kahan sevam shivadhan. Ha kahan vrindavana, kahan gopendranandan, kahan sevam shivadhan. Tan hete ghare asi matira upare vasi nakhe kare priti vilikhan. Ha kahan vrindavana kahan gopendranandana kahan sevam shivadhan. Ladies? Tahan haite ghare asi matira opare vasi nake kare priti vilikhan. Aha kaham vrindavana, kahan gopendranandana, kahan sevam shivadan. Tahan hoite, from there, ghare asi, coming back home, matira, the ground, upare, upon, vasi, sitting, nake, by the nails, kore, does, prithivi, on the surface of the earth, likana, marking, aha, alas, kahan, where is, vrindavana, vrindavana, Kahan, where? Gopa Indra Nandana, the son of the king of the cowherd men. Kahan, where? She, that. Vamshi Vadana, the person with the flute. Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 2, text 55 to 63. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When coming from the Jagannath temple to return to his house, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to sit on the ground and mark it with his nails. At such times he would be greatly morose and would cry, "Alas, where is Vrindavan? Where is Krishna, the son of the king of the cowherd men? Where is that person who plays the flute?" Please repeat. When coming from the Jagannath temple to return to his house, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to sit on the ground and mark it with his nails. At such times, he would be greatly morose and would cry, "Alas, where is Vrindavan? Where is Krishna, the son of the king of the cowherd men? Where is that person who plays the flute?" Text 56. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to lament by saying, "Where is Sri Krishna, whose form is curved in 3 places? Where is the sweet song of his flute? And where is the bank of the Jamuna? Where is the rasa dance? Where is that dancing, singing and laughing? Where is my Lord, Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid?" Text 57. In this way, various ecstatic emotions evolved, and the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu filled with anxiety. He could not escape even for a moment. In this way, because of fierce feelings of separation, his patience began to totter, and he began to recite various verses. Text 58. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O friend of the helpless, you are the only ocean of mercy. Because I have not met you, my inauspicious days and nights have become unbearable. I do not know how I shall pass the time. This is a verse from Krishna Caritamrita, text 41 by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Text 59. All these inauspicious days and nights are not passing, for I have not met you. It is difficult to know how to pass all this time, but you are the friend of the helpless and an ocean of mercy. Kindly give me your audience, for I am in a precarious position. Text 60. In this way, the Lord's restlessness was awakened by ecstatic feelings, and his mind became agitated. No one could understand what course such ecstasy would take. Because Lord Chaitanya could not meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, his mind burned. He began to ask Krishna about the means by which he could reach him. Text 61. This is another quote from Krishna Caritamrita of Bilva Mangal Thakur. O Krishna, O flute player, the sweetness of your early age is wonderful within these 3 worlds. You know my unsteadiness, and I know yours. No one else knows about this. I want to see your beautiful, attractive face somewhere in a solitary place, but how can this be accomplished? Text 62. My dear Krishna, only you and I know the strength of your beautiful features, and because of them, my unsteadiness. Now this is my position. I do not know what to do or where to go. Where can I find you? I am asking you to give directions. Text 63. Because of the various kinds of ecstasy, contradictory states of mind occurred, and this resulted in a great fight between different types of ecstasy. Anxiety, impotence, humility, anger, and impatience were all like soldiers fighting, and the madness of love of Godhead was the cause. Report by Srila Prabhupada. In the Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, it is stated that when similar ecstasies from separate causes meet, they are called Swarup Sandhi. When opposing elements meet, whether they arise from a common cause or different causes, their conjunction is called Bhinna Rupa Sandhi, the meeting of contradictory ecstasies. The simultaneous joining of different ecstasies, fear and happiness, regret and happiness, is called meeting, a sandhi. The word shabalya refers to different types of ecstatic symptoms combined together, like pride, despondency, humility, remembrance, doubt, impatience caused by insult, fear, disappointment, patience, and eagerness. The friction that occurs when these combine is called shabalya. Similarly, when the desire to see the object is very prominent, or when one is unable to tolerate any delay in seeing the desired object, the incapability is called otsukya, or eagerness. If such eagerness is present, one's mouth dries up and one becomes restless. One also becomes full of anxiety, and hard breathing and impatience are observed. Similarly, the lightness of heart caused by strong attachment and strong agitation of the mind is called impotence, or chapalya. Failure of judgment, misuse of words, and obstinate activities devoid of anxiety are observed. Similarly, when one becomes too angry at the other party, offensive and abominable speech occurs, and this anger is called rosha. When one becomes impatient due to being scolded or insulted, the resultant state of mind is called amarsa. In this state of mind, one perspires, acquires a headache, fades in bodily color, and experiences anxiety and an urge to search out the remedy. The bearing of a grudge, aversion, and chastisement are all visible symptoms. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. In the following Srila Prabhupada video series, which I highly recommend to everybody, which is all of the video taken of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, but is overlaid very expertly by his disciples who are explaining and giving the background story on what's happening. In one of those videos you can see Prithu Prabhu is describing how when he first saw Srila Prabhupada come to, I believe it was in Germany, and he first came to the airport and he saw him there, and he was describing how he was laughing and crying at the same time. He said it was very, very unusual. He never experienced such a thing. He said normally you have lamentation about something, you're normally crying about something, or something is extremely funny, you're happy, you're laughing about it. But he said it was literally crying and laughing at the same time. So due to the extreme potency of bhakti of Srila Prabhupada as being the Senapati Bhakta, he would sometimes manifest some experience of these ecstasies just due to his extreme potency and pure devotion of Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we may see some experience of these, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's experiencing and he's exhibiting these sentiments and emotions of pure love of Godhead to the highest degree. We can read here, the ecstatic symptoms are combined together: pride, despondency, humility, remembrance, doubt, impatience caused by insult, fear, disappointment, patience, and eagerness. So all of these different things. In another place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he describes that these different ecstasies are like different horses that are pulling in different directions in his mind. So why is it important for us to hear about these transcendental states of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the exhibition of the mood of Srimati Radharani? This is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Radhara Bhava Laya Chaitanya Avatar, Yuga Dharma Nama Prema Koila Prachar. So his incredible brilliance and expertise is that he is simultaneously manifesting the Yuga Dharma of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, of the calling out of the name of Krishna, and at the same time he's internally experiencing these sentiments of Srimati Radharani as she's calling out to Krishna. So it's important for us to hear about these transcendental states, because if we don't hear about them, we have a tendency to think that spiritual life means something impersonal or void. We're all somehow or another fed up with the material world. We've tried, and we've come to the understanding that this world is not a place of ultimate happiness. So when we try to conceive of a spiritual life or something that's anti-material, we think of it as being anti the qualities that we know of the material world. So where the material world has personalities, it has relationships, it has desires and hopes and achievement, we think that the spiritual life that's opposite of that must be without all of these things. There's no achievement, there's no desire, there's no excitement about doing things. This must be spiritual life. This is the limit of the Gyan process, or trying to understand what the spiritual world is through the process of negation of the qualities of the material world. So this is natural. If we don't hear about these transcendental states of love of Godhead, we will have this kind of conception of spiritual life. We can see practically that the teachings of the impersonalists, they have this concept, and they don't talk about this kind of divine love. The impersonalist gurus will talk about the bliss of Brahman and the bliss of, universal love and merging into the light and different things like that. But if you analyze carefully, there is no comparison to these deep emotional, personal, relationship-based states that is being described in the body and the experience of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here. So how much can... What is that noise? Is that the thing? Keeps making the noise? What is it? Is it that thing? That noise that keeps coming? That's a phone. It's a little distracting. If we don't, how much can we understand in our conditioned state? We can definitely understand there's a huge limit to how much we can actually appreciate and understand these things. But at the same time, it's important for us to have some exposure to the fact that there is a level of existence that is far beyond our current existence. I'll give a simple example. If a person decide to go to a medical school, become a doctor, then they may be there at the opening lecture, and somebody there in the opening lecture is a previous graduate who's now a heart surgeon, and they're working in the field, and they're describing how they're doing the heart surgery, and they saved somebody's life, and the relatives came and were so thankful, and the person was blessing them, how they felt so satisfied in their occupation, how they received good income from that occupation, all of the things about being a successful heart surgeon, they were describing in that lecture. And they were talking also some technical things about the different processes and so forth of doing the operation. So how much can those neophyte, first year, first day students appreciate of what this experienced heart surgeon is describing? Very little, very little. So why does he talk that? Why is he there? He's there to inspire them that this can be you one day. You can become a successful, respected, well-paid, satisfied heart surgeon one day if you follow this process as given by this medical school. So in a similar way, we are hearing about these topics of bhakti, these higher topics of bhakti, not in a sense that we can understand all the intricacies and experience what is being described directly. Of course, the person, the experienced heart surgeon who is giving the talk, he's not expecting that you will go out and try to do heart surgery the next day. So in the same way, it's not expected that by hearing these topics, that the next day we will think, yes, I can enter into these emotional states of the exalted devotees. That would be immature and foolish. But still, our acharyas have given these for us to understand, to have exposure of what are these higher states of bhakti. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressly instructed Sri Rupa Goswami to enunciate, to explain in great detail the science of bhakti. One of Srila Prabhupada's very first publications coming to the West was the Krishna book. The 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Summum Bonum. And of course he sprinkled it through and weaved it together with so much philosophical understanding so that we could understand how to see these pastimes and see these ecstatic emotional states of the Lord and the exalted devotees in the proper perspective, and not fall victim to imitation in the neophyte stage. But Srila Prabhupada found it, he expressed, he put the effort into making the Krishna book so that his disciples could have an exposure to the beauty and the transcendental glory of Krishna's pastimes. So in the same way that the experienced heart surgeon is giving the talk about the mature state of being a practitioner in his field, for the reasons that it gives the students faith in the process, it inspires the students to follow the path. It gives some theoretical understanding of what the perfection is, even if one can't understand all the details of it. And it shows the new students that there is a perfection here that is a higher state of being than what they're currently on. So all of these reasons are valid in the sense of the practitioner of bhakti to have exposure to these higher states of experience in a theoretical sense and gain faith that this path will lead me to a far higher state of existence than what I have currently experienced. So Srila Rupa Goswami was described as glorified in this sloka, Sri Caitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Sri Caitanya Mano Bhishtam, he understood the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One time Srila Rupa Goswami wrote a Sanskrit verse, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually became embarrassed and said, "How can you understand my mind? How can you understand?" And he actually destroyed that verse, that palm leaf. But luckily, the other devotees had made a copy, because Rupa Goswami had written it on a palm leaf and tucked it into the cottage, the thatched cottage, and Lord Chaitanya saw it and he said, "Oh," and it was too close. It was very intimate understanding of his mood, in the mood of Srimati Radharani. You know, he's a sannyasi. He's a sannyasi and a devotee in Jagannath Puri. And he didn't want that this mood would be exposed to people who wouldn't understand. And so he wrapped up that palm leaf, crunched it up. But some devotees, so Jagannanda, Mukunda. So one of the devotees, they had, for our benefit, to our benefit, they had made a copy of that sloka. So Rupa Goswami is especially empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to understand what is his mood. In the Nectar of Instruction, chapter 8, Srila Rupa Goswami has written this, Nectar of Instruction, verse 8. Sri Rupa Goswami has written this verse, Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja Tishtan Vrajeta Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayera Kilami Tyupadesha Saram. Translation: the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja, Goloka Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse, Yam Yam Vapi Svaram Bhavam, that whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. And so the process of Krishna consciousness is a process of remembering Krishna at the time of death, at the time of leaving the body. This can't be artificially done. One has to practice throughout the life. It is fact that whatever we are attached to during our life, we will call out to. And whatever is our meditation during life, that we will meditate on in death, in leaving the body. We will take shelter in death in what we take shelter of in life. So Srila Prabhupada writes that this process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore Srila Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their minds in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. This is the process. And we'll look further in this purport also where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the process of this gradual development of remembrance to the highest level. This highest level of remembrance of Krishna, of ultimately remembering one's position in the spiritual world, is the process is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes about it in chapter 15 and 16. He writes, examples of spontaneous devotional service can easily be seen in Krishna's direct associates in Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Raga Atmika. These beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulative principles and have achieved the spontaneous, loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives, and as a result they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. Their spontaneous attitude is called Raga Atmika Bhakti. Every devotee in his perfectional stage has a spontaneous attraction to the Lord. This attraction is sometimes called the lusty desire of the devotee. The lust is the devotee's excessive desire to serve the Lord in a particular capacity. Such a desire may seem to be a desire for enjoying the Lord, but actually the endeavor is to serve the Lord in that capacity. For example, a devotee may be desiring to associate with the personality of Godhead as his cowherd friend. He will want to serve the Lord by assisting him in controlling the cows in the pasturing ground. This may appear to be a desire to enjoy the company of the Lord, but actually it is spontaneous love, serving him by assisting in managing the transcendental cows. Spontaneous love of Krishna, as exhibited by the Vrishnis and the denizens of Vrindavan, is eternally existing in them. In the stage of devotional service where regulative principles are followed, there is no necessity of discussing this love, for it must develop of itself at a more advanced stage. The spontaneous love, the spontaneous attachment and affection and divine love, prema, of the associates of Vrindavan is eternally existing in them. And Prabhupada writes, there is no necessity of discussing this love, for it must develop of itself at a more advanced stage. this love is not something we can artificially enter into. It is something that must develop of itself. How does it develop? Srila Prabhupada explains. Persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Vrishnis and Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees. So the devotees themselves are called Ragatmika. The Madhya Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, the Gopas, the Gopis, they're the Raga Atmika. The attachment is the essence of their very being, Raga Atmika. And those who have the desire to follow, who want to also serve Krishna, have that desire to follow, but they're following those, are called Raga Anuga. Raga Nuga, which means they're trying to attain that perfection. They haven't attained that perfection. Srila Prabhupada continues. These Raga Nuga devotees do not follow the regulated principles of devotional service very strictly, but by spontaneous nature they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees such as Nanda or Yashoda, and they try to follow in their footsteps spontaneously. There is a gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee. And this activity is called Raga Nuga. Prabhupada continues. We must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Vraja, Vrindavan, is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. In following the regulated principles of devotional service, there is a stage called Anartha Nivriti, which means the disappearance of all material contamination. So here Srila Prabhupada is giving us the warning and giving us the understanding that this desire to follow in the footsteps of a particular devotee, or the desire to have a particular relationship in one of the 5 primary relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is a desire that happens when one is freed from material contamination. I'll read it again. We must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Raj is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. So in the beginning stages of bhakti, as we are in at the moment, the focus is on what? The focus is on becoming freed from material contamination. The focus isn't on trying to artificially think about what our particular relationship is with Krishna in the spiritual world. That will give little or no benefit. What will give benefit is trying to become freed from material contamination. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na kankshati na sochati samasaveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. The param bhakti of Krishna is only attained once one is free from the material contamination. Brahma Bhuta stage. So this is the focus of the devotees. As Prabhupada says here, there is no necessity of discussing this divine love, for it must develop of itself at a more advanced stage. And the prerequisite for developing this transcendental greed or this transcendental desire, enthusiasm to serve Krishna in a particular way, the prerequisite is that one has to be freed from the desire to serve the material world in a particular way. Right? We can't be Ekeha Gurunandana. We have to have our intelligence fixed on one thing or another. So if we want to have our intelligence fully fixed on Krishna to the point where we can actually begin to appreciate and understand and experience what is our particular relationship with Krishna, we must have withdrawn our attention from the material world. In this purport to Nectar Devotion, verse 8, Srila Prabhupada quotes his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he describes this process of gradually entering into this understanding of our eternal position, our eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, I'll just read one little part from Nectar Devotion as a lead into this, and then I'll get on to this Nectar Devotion verse. In Nectar of Instruction verse. So coming back to Nectar Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says an important point, and then we'll go on to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's point. Srila Prabhupada says this: in this connection, we should be careful about the so-called Siddha Pranali. The Siddha Pranali process is followed by a class of men who are not very authorized and who have manufactured their own way of devotional service. They imagine that they have become associates of the Lord simply by thinking of themselves like that. This external behavior is not at all according to the regulative principles. The so-called Siddha Pranali process is followed by the Prakrita Sahajya, a pseudo-sect of so-called Vaishnavas. In the opinion of Rupa Goswami, such activities are simply disturbances to the standard way of devotional service. Sometimes we hear it presented by Vaishnavas that one has to get this Siddha Pranali, one has to get this identity of who you are in the spiritual world, and sometimes it's said explicitly or implicitly that the teachings of Srila Prabhupada don't attain this, and you have to come and get this other higher understanding. Rupa Goswami has called this simply a disturbance, simply a disturbance to the standard way of devotional service. Our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they make it very clear that this process is something that naturally awakens after one is on the liberated platform, is free from entanglements and affections for the material world. So let's see what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says about this. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, quality, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, form, pastimes and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's in a very terse code form here. He said that after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly. So after one, and of course from his exalted Mahabhagavat position, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says one should develop a taste for such things, he's talking about a real taste, ruchi, an actual taste that takes one away from any taste of material tastes. So this is his way of saying that. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gives the progress. And I'll summarize this. He says the first stage is called Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. The second stage is Varna Dasha, the stage of acceptance and being attached to hearing about Krishna Katha. Very deep acceptance in the heart of the importance of hearing Krishna Katha and the beginnings of attachment to hearing that name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna. The third stage is called Smarana Dasha, and this is the stage of remembering Krishna and chanting in ecstasy. And this stage is broken up into 5 other stages. The first stage of Smarana Dasha, and of course Smarana means remembrance, and this is the ultimate. What is the code verse in Bhagavad Gita? Yam yam vapi smaram bhava. Our goal is to get to the smaran bhava, remembering the bhava of Krishna as we leave our body. So the smarana, the remembrance, is the goal. Smarana Dasha, the first stage, is recollection, where the remembrance may be interrupted. The next stage is absorption, where the interruptions are lessened in the deep remembrance of Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities. The third stage is meditation, where there's uninterrupted remembrance of Krishna. And then the fourth stage is constant remembrance, where the meditation expands and becomes constant. Anusmriti, it's called in Sanskrit. The meditation expands and becomes overwhelming and constant. And then finally, the fifth stage is trance or samadhi, where there's unceasing anusmriti, spiritual trance. The remembrance is completely uninterrupted, completely expanded, and totally, the devotee is totally absorbed in that remembrance and spiritual trance. And in this stage, one gets to the final stage, Sampati Dasha, where the soul understands his original constitutional position in relation to Krishna, which is the perfection of life. I'll finish with this final part of this purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Caitanya Caritamrita advises those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires, simply engage in the regular devotional service of the Lord according to the directions of Scripture. In this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities, and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna even without following the regulative principles. This stage is called Raga Bhakti, or devotional service in spontaneous love. At that stage, the devotee can follow in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called Raga Nuga Bhakti. Raga Nuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, can be executed in the Shanta Rasa, when one aspires to be like Krishna's cows, or the stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flowers around Krishna's neck. In the Dasya Rasa, one follows in the footsteps of servants like Chitraka, Patraka or Raktak. In the friendly Sakya Rasa, one can become a friend like Baladev, Sridham or Sudam. In the Vatsalya Rasa, characterized by parental affection, one can become like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. And in the Madhurya Rasa, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani or her lady friends such as Lalita and her serving maids, Manjaris, like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instruction in the matter of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Is there any question or comment? Yes. We'll wait for the mic.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, you mentioned about, you said in this beginning beginning stage of bhakti, the main focus is getting free from material contamination. When you said that at first, I was like, that's like, where's the nectar in that? Like, how do I do that? Like, okay, now I'm going to focus on getting free from material contamination.
So where's the nectar in that? First of all, even just coming to the point of liberation, the happiness and liberation is described as like an ocean compared to a tiny little bit of water that's in the hoofprint of a calf, which is the material, the material enjoyment. So even just coming, even approaching that point of liberation, just like when Haridas Thakur was talking in the associates of Hiranya and Govardhana Majumdar, he said just by chanting the holy name, just by a faint glimmer of the holy name, you get liberation. And all of the impersonalists where we're, at least one who was there said, that can't be true, it's so hard to get impersonal liberation. He said, no, it's very easy. That is just by a glimmer of the holy name. So even just that, getting free from, that's why it's called Vaikuntha, right? Kunta means anxiety. So Vaikuntha is characterized, the very name of it is the place that's free from all anxiety. Now within that is Braj, and there's positive relationships within that. But the whole place is called as Vaikuntha, right? So even that is blissful. That's in answer to the first question. And the second question of how do we do that? We do that by a positive, along the way, we're doing the positive. Because we're not following the impersonal or Buddhist path. We're not just saying, push away material things, push away material things. And Krishna Bhakti is very, very clear in Bhagavad Gita. Visha vinivartate nirharasya dena rasa vajam rasa upyasha param dristvani vartate. You can only give up the material world when you have a higher taste. So it's a bit like a ladder, you're putting one leg after another. So you get a bit of a taste, you get prasadam, and you don't need to eat the horrible McDonald's things, right? You get some beautiful kirtan, you don't need to take intoxication. So we get this taste, step by step by step, we're getting a taste and we're giving up the lower things at the same time. But this comment is particularly in relation to this point about actually entering into our eternal position, understanding our eternal relationship. Sometimes we get the question from very new devotees who are saying like, how do I understand who I am in the spiritual world? Am I this, am I that? How much, literally I've had this question in Krishna Path, how much does my eternal personality manifest through my conditioned personality in time? And we can ask the question, how much does our eternal personality manifest in our life as a centipede? Can we see it? Probably not, right? So it's very, very hidden. So there's no use trying to uncover that and think, because I like to sing, maybe I'm a cowherd boy who sings for Krishna. It's not really useful. It's not really useful to us. So in that sense of trying to understand what is our identity in the spiritual world, the really useful part is trying to get free from material contamination. Because the acharyas are telling us, when we become free from material contamination, then simultaneously, gradually, we'll actually develop internally a particular mood to serve Krishna in a particular way that will come from within us. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajja Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Kore Udai. That this eternal love is in our hearts, but Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitte, Shuddha purify, Chitte the heart, Shravanadi, hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. By doing those things, we purify our heart, then that love awakens. There's no use trying to speculate, trying to dream, trying to think about what am I in the spiritual world. It helps only on that level, as I said in the beginning of the class, like when you're looking at a heart surgeon's lecture in the first day of university at medical school. There is something, wow, it's beyond it. It helps in that sense. We understand, wow, the interactions that we read about are on a way higher level of love than anything we've experienced in this material world. There's eternal, it's ever existing, it's ever increasing. The scale of the love there, that's what we should appreciate. And then knuckle down and do the hard work to try to reform ourselves and get free from the material world and get established, fixed in bhakti. There's that process, right? Faith, association with devotees, initiation, Nata Nivritti. Notice after Nata Nivritti, that's when Nishta comes, fixed. Then when we're fixed, what happens? Ruchi, taste. So these taste can only come when we're fixed. And fixed means we're not running off to try to enjoy something in the material world, gross or subtle. Just running off, oh, I'm going to do something, oh, then I'll be recognized as a devotee by others, whatever. It's all material, subtle gross. So that's the process of how to get there.
Just now you mentioned Nishta and then comes Ruchi. And just before you were talking about how to actually get free from material contamination, it's like the ladder, and you have to get the padam drishta,
Yes.
the higher taste.
Yes.
Is that higher taste Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita, the Ruchi?
In Ishopanishad it said, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, Purna Purnamadachate, right? Krishna is the complete whole. So he manifests these complete wholes. So the process of devotional service also has all these complete wholes in it. There's the beginning of devotional service where we're just trying to get some faith. We're trying to get a little bit fixed, and then we go to the... So that process, one of those is prominent. So yes, is the answer to that. He's speaking what you're saying, but he's also speaking in a higher sense because it relates to everything. You can't have complete faith until you've seen Krishna eye to eye, right? But faith is the first stage. So how can I get there if how do I get past? No, it's a gradual development of all of those. But Rupa Goswami is giving that to see that there's a particular focus, what is more prominent at a particular time. So in that stage, Ananta Nivritti, that's more prominent, right? But still, the faith is developing, right? And still the ability to associate with devotees is definitely developing, right? As we get more pure, we can associate better with devotees. And performing our bhajan is getting better, so they all go together, but one of those is particularly more prominent in the process of where a devotee's at. Okay? Over. Thank you. Over. Anything else? That's all? Okay, we're going way over time. Thank you for your patience. Hare Krishna. Srila. There's something else? Sorry. Yes. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Just a very, very quick comment.
Yes.
In relation to what you've been saying, point of interest.
Yeah. Yes.
I attended a course over 20 years ago. Mayapur Bhakti Shuri taught me for over 4 days on this subject, and it was covered in great detail. But in one section, which I won't give you the details, but the essence of what he said is, in our process, is we follow Vaidhi Bhakti and serve Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
And he said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will personally turn our Vaidhi Bhakti into Raga and Rupa Bhakti. We don't have to do anything separate to attain it. He said, look, this is Lord Chaitanya's mercy.
Yes.
So we don't have to overcomplicate it. He says, we just put our shoulders to the wheel and serve his mission.
Yes.
He'll take care of all these things.
Yes. So we should be ready for him to do that.
Keep him the shoulder.
We should be ready when some feelings come. We should know that that's the process as well. And he will do that, but we should know what the process is of doing that. At some stage, he will reveal our identity. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. I was actually going to quote that just then in the class about how you said that time where Prabhupada said, don't think you can get the mercy of Krishna without the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and you can't get without Nityananda, you can't get Nityananda without the Guru, and you can't get the Guru's mercy without, you said, put your shoulder to the wheel of the Sankirtan movement. That's, yeah.